You get paid on Friday, and for a brief moment, everything feels lighter. The bank notification arrives, the number in your account jumps, and even if nothing in your actual life has changed, your mind reacts as if something important just happened. You walk a little differently, you browse a little longer, and suddenly the things that felt unnecessary on Wednesday begin to feel strangely reasonable by Saturday. A better dinner feels deserved, a new pair of shoes feels practical, upgrading something small feels harmless, because after all, you just got paid. And this is where one of the quietest financial traps begins. Not with greed, not with irresponsibility, but with psychology. Most people do not overspend because they are bad with money. They overspend because the human brain treats fresh money differently from old money. Income feels like permission. It creates emotional distance between spending and consequence. The pain of paying weakens, while the pleasure of possibility gets stronger. This is why someone can carefully compare grocery prices on the 27th of the month, then casually spend 3 times that amount on impulse purchases on the 2nd. The math did not change, the psychology did.
Behavioral economists call part of this mental accounting. Your brain does not treat all dollars equally. It creates invisible categories. Rent money feels serious. Bonus money feels flexible. Tax refunds feel like gifts. Payday income feels new. And new money feels safer to spend because it has not yet been mentally assigned to responsibility. The problem is that money does not care about categories. The same $100 can build stability or disappear into convenience, depending entirely on the story attached to it. There is also the reward cycle. Work creates stress. Paychecks create relief. Relief seeks celebration. Many people are not spending after payday because they need something. They're spending because spending becomes the emotional ceremony that marks survival. You worked hard, you tolerated the week, you handled the pressure, and your brain wants proof that the effort meant something. Consumption becomes a receipt for emotional labor. This is why payday spending often has very little to do with utility. It is not about the object, it is about the feeling attached to it. Control, progress, status, relief, temporary freedom. The purchase is symbolic, and symbols are expensive. Then comes the dangerous part, invisibility. Because overspending after payday rarely feels reckless, it feels small, it feels justified. A few upgrades here, a delivery order there, subscriptions that seem tiny, convenience purchases that barely register. None of them look like financial mistakes on their own. But wealth is rarely destroyed by one dramatic decision.
It is usually dissolved through frictionless repetition. 500 here, 2,000 there. A recurring charge you stopped noticing months ago. Convenience becomes routine, and routine becomes identity. Eventually, people say something strange. I make good money, but I still feel broke. That sentence is rarely about income. It is often about timing. Because if every payday resets your discipline, your financial life never compounds. It only recovers. You are not building wealth. You are repeatedly returning to zero. This is where the math becomes brutally simple. Imagine someone earns the equivalent of $5,000 per month and overspends just 10% after every payday through emotional purchases, convenience spending, and lifestyle drift. That is $500 gone every month. Not catastrophic, barely noticeable. But over 1 year, that becomes $6,000. Over 5 years, $30,000. And if that same amount had been invested instead, with average market growth, the real number becomes far larger, because the loss is not just spending, it is the compounding that never happened. 500 times 12 equals 6,000. People often calculate what they spent. They rarely calculate what that money would have become. That missing future is the real cost. This is why wealthy people often look less impressed by payday. Their emotional relationship with income is different. Money arriving is not an event. It is a transfer of responsibility. Instead of asking, what can I buy now? They ask, where should this go before I can touch it? That question changes everything. Because wealth is often less about earning and more about preventing emotional access.
Automation works not because it is financially advanced, but because it removes psychology from the transaction. If money moves into investments, savings, or obligations before you emotionally meet it, you protect yourself from the version of you that shops for relief instead of strategy. Discipline is often overrated. Environment matters more. Most people try to win against temptation manually every month. That is exhausting. Systems outperform willpower.
Because systems do not get excited on payday. They simply continue. And beneath all of this is identity. Some people see payday as proof they can finally spend. Others see payday as proof they must protect momentum. Same paycheck, different self-image. One person feels richer because they bought something. The other becomes richer because they did not. That difference compounds quietly for years, until it looks like luck from the outside. But it was never luck. It was emotional architecture. The truth is, overspending after payday is not a math problem first. It is a psychological negotiation between your present self and your future self. Your present self wants relief. Your future self wants freedom. And every payday, they negotiate using the same money. Most people let the louder voice win. The goal is not to stop enjoying money. It is to stop using spending as proof that life is improving. Because real financial progress is often invisible. It looks like automatic transfers. It looks like ignored temptations. It looks like delayed gratification so boring that nobody notices it, until 10 years later when everyone suddenly asks how you got ahead. And the honest answer is almost disappointingly simple. You stopped celebrating survival with spending. You started rewarding yourself with ownership. And once that shift happens, payday stops being a permission slip. It becomes a decision point. That is where wealth quietly begins.